Okay, we're back. We are going to go look at a website called ars-exams.org. So if we look at this is how we are going to go about creating exams for our systems. Before we do, let's go and look at particular ones we want to install. We're going to go through a process of installing most all of these. And basically how you go about doing this. What I'm going to look for first is a type of exam. So we're going to go back over to exercise template. What we're going to do is we're going to just click the first one, and what you'll see here is the name, the type. The type is, this is a multiple choice, and it's related to this Swiss capital. Let's go ahead and do this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the R Markdown document. So what you see is a strange looking document. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and download this thing. Let's see. Okay, save link as. We're going to come up here and put it in documents for the time being. And what I'm going to do is type R Markdown. Okay, it's saved it. Let's go into my document. Oops. There it is. Let's see what it says if I double click it. It gives me the choice of opening it with RStudio. And there it is. So it's the entire test. The question is how do you go about executing it? It's saved in this area here. Let's look at where we are. If we type down here and look, we are in the users, my name, and documents. And I can do a code over here. Oops. Sorry about that. We're going to do a code over here and look at how we can execute that. If you look back over here, you'll see a couple of different ways in which you can produce this. You can produce it as an exam to an HTML, but he does not have what we are particularly looking for. Exam. Okay, now first of all, I've got to have the library in the space, so I have to type in library exams. Once I go to this exam, I see a lot of different choices. I am going to focus my attention around a exam to Moodle right here. So what I'm going to do is, if you look at the bottom left screen, you can see it's already starting to help me. And so I see an exam to Moodle. He wants to see the file. The file is capital and let's see what happens here. I do not have R Markdown in here. So let's fix that. Not a problem. Back over to Packages, RMA, Markdown here. I'll install it. It's installing some of the packages that are needed. So here, let's do this again. I'll use the arrow up key till I produce that. And it did something there. Came back, loading required namespace R markdown. What did it produce? Well, it produced something here called an XML document called Moodle quiz. If we edit it just for curiosity, we see a bunch of XML. Looks like kind of website looking, but we have a place designated that we can put this. If you have a Moodle site, which we have, and what we're going to do is log in here. Alright, so we've logged in here. We have a course here just sitting here called our exams. There's nothing here, so I'm going to go turn on the ability to add different things, and I can add an exam here in a minute. But before I do, let's go and import a question. It's going to be a Moodle XML file, and I'm going to draw this up on top of, and I tell you what, let's go ahead and get rid of that window. I'm going to draw this window on top of the other so I can select it and drop it down there. It says okay. I hit an import. Okay, it says one question was added. Which of the following capitals correspond to the country? I'll do a continue here. It sits there, and you can see Q1, the name of it, and I can do a preview of it and say here is the question, which of the following cities is the capital of the corresponding country? So we'll just do that, and we'll fill in the correct responses. And he says Tokyo, Warsaw, and Riyadh. You can hit a submit all and finish, and he gives you back a in this little tannish area. It's basically what comes back as somewhat of a solution, which, okay, let's look at these different areas here. There's the multiple blue equal sign here with the question above it, an answer list, then a solution. The solution, from the solution down to this meta information, this is what will be given back to a person who has taken the test. And this is the meta information, like the names, the type of exam, some solution information. It's trying to spell check, so sorry about that. And then shuffling. So we're not going to change the exam here. We're just going to look at it and go on. Okay, so let's go and look at a more complicated example. And we're going, so we've been through the sequence now. We've got to the point now. Okay, so I guess I should finish this one thing. I'll close the preview. Now I'll go back to my course. Go back to the R exam course. I have no test or anything there. So I can add I can add the test up here. I'll wait for it to come up, and then I'll select this quiz area. I can name the quiz. I can put a description. I can put the timing, the amount of time that when it's open and closed, how much time, what happens when the tire expires, the grade, whether you want an unlimited attempts, the layout. But I'm going to take all the defaults. Okay, once I have there, I can edit the quiz. However, let's take you back to the general. Okay, so there sits the quiz. So I can click it, and ordinarily it says, oh, it would say something else here, but I have no questions. So I'm going to edit the quiz. I've got to add something to it. Cancel that, sorry, from the question bank. Okay, so you drop down, you see Moodle quiz exercise 1, one question. Takes it a second. Add the selected question to the quiz. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. It sits there. There's nothing else to do. I'll go back to our exams. I'll turn off the editing so the little pencils disappear, and this is how you would see it. You come into it, and you're like, oh, here it is. I want to attempt the quiz. This is what it would look like. Now this time you notice there's no button that says fill in or anything else. This is the live quiz. You'll see the quiz navigation. If there were more than one question, there would be multiple little rectangles here numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do things bad because we already saw the answer. I'm going to see what it tells me. Answer saved. Now it's saved. I can return to the attempt now, or I can finish the attempt. It's going to say submit all and finish. You're no longer able to change your answers, and here's what it says. It says boo, you got it wrong. You selected those two, true and false. Okay, and then it gives you the answer, and it tells you you didn't do very good. Gives you a big red spot right there. So now we're going to go back, and we're going to see if there's another type of question we want to look at. First thing we see is there something called a numeric type of question. So you see it's numeric. Let's go ahead and do it. Right click, save it as, keep the name, or mark down. I'm going to go back in here. We can do open, find it. It was fruit. I'm going to open it. It has a bunch of mess here. You're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, what is this? We're not going to pay too much attention to what it is right now. We're going to go back in here and we are going to change this. I think it was fruit singular, or maybe it was plural. No. Okay, it gave me a couple warning messages, but let's see if in fact it produced something. Oh, unfortunately, I think it was named the same thing. Let's edit this just for kicks. So there's what it looks like. The reason it named things because I didn't effectively try to change its name. So that's bad on me, but that's okay. So let's head back to our course. We're going to turn the editing on. We don't have to turn it on here. It just shows these. I'm going to add a question. I'm going to add, there's two ways to do this. We can go in, we can add a quiz first. And here, we're returning to the course. We've given it a silly name. You can click it and you can say, hey, let's edit the quiz. Well, I haven't loaded that fruit yet, so the question is, what do I do here? There's not much you can do except go and get the question. Okay, I can look at the categories. I see Moodle quiz exercise 1. Now, I'm going to probably have a little bit of a clash here, but that's life. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to import it. Okay, importing question 1, parsing, give a couple of things like that. Now here's what I mean. If you look at the categories, you'll see Moodle quiz. Now there are 2 questions under this, each one different. One that says fruit, one that says capitals. Okay, not a bad thing, but you might want to change it from another name. Edit the quiz. We're going to add a question from the bank. We could do this. We could make this test this. I'm going to put both questions in here. Okay. Page 1 and page 2. There's nothing more. I don't know. I guess I could change the score, but 10 is fine. I'm going to go back to the test. To the course. Turn off this because now I no longer need to edit or create it. I click it. I attempt the quiz now. And what you see is you see the original one, which I'm just going to mess up on purpose, and go to the next page. This time you see some images. Okay, when we were looking at this file, I'm sorry, it's back over here. We're looking at this file, you see all this image is an encoding for the picture. Now, I'll show you later how to generate it. This one, it just basically puts it in there for the time being. That's okay for the moment. But it's what they call an encoding. This is 64-bit encoding. But if you look at it, okay, given the following information, I just want you to solve this matrix. Okay, I'm going to come up with 34. It says submit all or finish. What did I score? I'm going to submit them all. I didn't score pretty well. Okay, so it says nah, and it says nah. You can hover over here if it allows you to do that. Some problems allow you to hover over and give you the answer. However, this one gives you the answer down here. So this gives you how you compute it in the tan area. Now what you'll notice is this is a mathematical representation. And what is interesting is if you go back to the text or the code that you just downloaded, you'll notice something interesting. There's your question. In the solution area, you will see some $signs and some information here. This is basically converting to a typesetting thing called LaTeX. I'm not going to save this, but I'll mess with it for a minute. Let's say, for example, here, I'll just slip in, say, right here. right here. And I'm going to, if I hit $2, and then it's pretty boring, but give it a second, and what you see here is I've had the fraction of the partial of a capital T over the partial of t. Now you could change this to something like partial of theta with respect to time. So you can see, I think this is the, let's try. I can't remember all the symbols, but anyway, you could have all of this typeset, and it appears in or to the person in the Moodle site. It will appear as an equation to them. So you'll see x sub 1, you'll see a matrix here. Okay, so I think at this point I've gone 21 minutes. I'm going to call it quits, and then I'm going to come back and do specific examples. Examples that have other components with them that are more, well, I tell you what, let me do one more example here. Let me go into the exercise template. Let's go down till I can find it. Okay, it may take me a minute. Maybe it's this one. Okay, this is a particular type called a clause. Let's do this one, and then we'll call it quits on this video. So you see it looks kind of similar. However, there's something interesting about a clause statement, and it's actually very important. We've downloaded it. We're going to go back to here. We can open the fourfold. It's there. It's not anything fancy. So let's go ahead and do it. It's there. It's done. Let's go back to the Moodle site. You know what? I think we'll go back to the same test, and we'll just put it as a third question for that test. Let's go up to here. Sorry, I should have come to the very top. Turn on the editing. Going down to it. Come to here. Edit the quiz. Okay, so I got 2 questions, right? So I want to add a question, but I haven't loaded it yet. So I can add it from the question bank, but it's not there. I haven't added it, so I need to go add it, import it, give this thing a second, Moodle XML, load it. Okay, it will be in the bank. Okay, continue. Let's see, where did it end up? It ended up with 3 questions in this category, and it ended up fourfold, so it's the one on top here. And you'll notice the little icon here in front of each of these looks a little different. So let's go back to the test. I'm going to add it as a problem and say that the second test I did with this funny name here. Edit the test. I'm going to add a question. I'm going to try to add it up here. Let's see if I can add it. Let's go down here. I've got these 3 or how many ever I've got. I'll take that one, add it to the test. Okay. We'll go back to our exams. Pretend like I'm a student. I'm going to turn off the editing thing. Hit that. The reason you turn on the editing thing is so you can edit, of course. But I'm going to attempt the quiz. Here we go. Now what's happened is it put these two on the same page because of the way I aligned it. You can move them apart, but anyway. So what you see here, this is what a clause has. Has a particular problem statement, but guess what? There are multiple answers or necessary numbers in here. So let's just make them up. Just because I don't want to not make them up. I'm going to answer the wrong thing here. I know that's wrong. I'm going to go to the next page. So now on the next page I'm picking up 1. And here I'm going to do just put in something like that. And I'll hit the finish attempt and see what the returning view looks like. Okay, first of all, it does that. Yeah, I knew I was wrong there. Now it gives you this. This time when you hover over it, you will see, oh, the correct answer is this, correct answer is that. So the key here is a clause statement can have one problem statement and as many answers related to that problem statement as possible. Here he gives you the answer. He talks about all this. Then he works out the actual answers with the information that's up here. And then, of course, you got this last one, which we've seen this one before. So the reason I wanted to stop and do the clause is because what we're going to go to now is constructing problems using this clause. And I'll make a video later as to why this clause is, in my opinion, the absolute important part of a depth of engineering or any STEM subject. But for the moment, I'm going to call it done.